Hi, Judge Andrew Napolitano here, and you are on Freedom Watch with my guest and good friend Juan Williams. He's a Fox News political analyst and host of the Fox News show The Five, and he's the author of the terrific book We the People. So, Mr. Williams, the President of the United States has been in office for 6.5 months.
Right.
How do you grade him? What's your evaluation?
Well, you know, the difficulty for me is I never thought he'd get elected in the first place.
Right.
So I'm not a fan, to be just blunt about it.
Okay.
So
I have some real problems with him.
I do. But it's not the case that I think that he's an illegitimate president or not worthy of respect, and I certainly respect the office of the presidency. So what I try to do as a political analyst here at Fox is take myself out of it, Judge. Just move away. So the way I measure it, the parameters that I would set would be, one, legislative accomplishment. And there, I think he comes up flat, especially with the failure of the health care bill. And the question is, and I think his biggest supporters would say, will he be able to get tax reform and specific tax cuts? I think the corporations, Wall Street, really looking forward to that.
Do you think he knows how to provide political leadership? Because it's so different from the roles that he's assumed in his life up to this point.
Well, you know, so let me come to you, Judge, because I think you're better able to answer this question. You're much more a New Yorker than I am. You've played games here and politics here. It seems to me that Donald Trump was pretty successful in New York media, New York politics. He put money in the pockets of Democrats and Republicans.
But he never had a Congress that he had to persuade or bend to his will.
Not the city council, not the legislature?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a lot easier to make contributions on a local level and expect politicians to bless your 52-story towers in New York City than it is to get Congress to bend to your will on health care. It seemed to me, here's what I want your thoughts on, he was willing to accept any modification of Obamacare, no matter how great or slight, just so that he could claim he fulfilled his campaign promise. And in the end, he couldn't get enough Republicans to go along with it.
No, and maybe a little payback from John McCain, who he had insulted along the way. But to me, you have identified the key issue, that after 7 years, you would think that Republicans would have had a superior plan, one that would have ensured either a comparable number of people or slightly less, but with lower premiums for the average American health care consumer, and they didn't have such a plan.
They just played games when they ran the Congress and Barack Obama was president. 60 times they sent him legislation, 6-0, that they knew he would veto. Did any one of those things ever get passed by them in the Donald Trump presidency? Answer no.
No, and in fact, it looks like they were counting on Obama to veto it.
Right. But do you think that Trump has the intelligence, patience, self-restraint to be the President of the United States? I mean, the past 6 months have been brutal for him and for his supporters.
And I would especially point out to you the last month, you know, the attacks on his own Attorney General and a true conservative in Jeff Sessions. As well as the turmoil within the White House, beginning with the mooch. Spicer, Priebus, and now Scaramucci. And the stories I hear from White House staffers, which is they worry for their own jobs and their families, but more than that, that they're never sure what's next, because there's no marching orders. It's not like, you know, we're a team and say, oh, Juan, come do my show, we're going to have a conversation. They feel like they're always on edge, like something's going to surprise me.
You and I know history. Richard Nixon made his tenure a lot shorter by the single act of firing Archibald Cox. What happens if Trump tells Rod Rosenstein to fire Bob Mueller?
I think it's really bad news, and I'm not the only one who thinks it's bad news. I mean, you can
Republicans think that as well.
Republicans.
This one sitting next to you.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I think it would be horrific if he were.
I think it's terrible
to do that,
and I think it's also in fitting with what happened as a result of firing Jim Comey. Nothing good came from that.
Right. You know, if Jim Comey was fired because he dropped the ball on Hillary, I don't believe that's the real reason, but that's the stated reason. Well, why didn't they reinstitute the investigation of Hillary?
Well, but
what did Jeff Sessions see that caused him not to pursue this further?
There you go. And you know that, in fact, Jim Comey wouldn't have done what he did unless Donald Trump had started with that foolishness about a secret taping system. And it turns out there was no secret taping system, at least not to our knowledge.
How do you see this ending?
Well, you know, a long time ago I wrote that whenever you get the special counsel in there, I've seen that movie before, and that movie always ends with people going to jail. Now, I don't know if that means President Trump going to jail, but you look at some of the aides, people like Flynn, Carter Page, I could keep going. You get the idea. But does it reach to President Trump? And at what point does he say, you know, I don't need this. I'm not happy doing this. Does he suddenly decide, I want to quit?
Does he have the ability to turn things around and act more presidential and garner the respect of Republicans and maybe a few Democrats? Does he have that ability?
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So remember, you're talking to a critic. I'm just being honest.
Right, of course.
But when I look at him, I say, is he making friends on Capitol Hill? Is he working?
I don't think he is.
No, I don't either. Is he working collaboratively with Mitch McConnell?
No.
Is he saying, oh, you know what, gentlemen, I'm not blaming you. I'm not finger pointing. Paul Ryan, come over here. Let's make it clear. You and I are on the same team. Answer no. And you listen to talk radio and conservative talk radio, you read the conservative blogs, they're going after the Congress.
Last question. Have you seen Jeff Flake's book?
Yes.
I mean, that is really
criticism.
Well-grounded, articulate, and upsetting Republicans.
And he says, you know...
Because he says things they don't want to hear, but he's speaking the truth.
Well, he says they're in denial about Trump.
Yes. Juan, it's always a pleasure. I could talk to you all afternoon.
You're so kind. Thank you.
From New York, defending freedom whenever they let me, Judge Andrew Napolitano. See you next time, America.